Thank you, Mr. Zeller. Thank you for being here today. I'd like to recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. Mr. Zeller, you're aware that on September 11th, HHS Secretary Azar said the FDA was going to issue guidance clearing the market of, quote, non-tobacco flavored e-cigarettes, including mint and menthol products, right?
Yes.
And you're aware that Secretary Azar announced the ban because, quote, the numbers from the NYTS show a continued rise in the disturbing rates of youth e-cigarette use, especially through the use of non-tobacco flavors that appeal to kids, correct?
Correct.
And Secretary Azar further stated that, quote, more than a quarter of high school students were current e-cigarette users in 2019, and the overwhelming majority of youth e-cigarette users, I think you said 75% of high schoolers, but the overwhelming majority of youth e-cigarette users cited the use of popular fruit and menthol or mint flavors, right?
That's correct.
The purpose of banning, or as Secretary Azar said, clearing the market of flavored e-cigarettes was to decrease youth vaping, right?
That would be consistent with what the Secretary said, yes.
And there was urgency to this issue. There was urgency. That is why the President said on September 11th that FDA guidance and action would come in, quote, a couple of weeks, right?
That's what was said.
And there was an urgency that was felt at that time, right?
That's correct.
And on October 25th, you stated that FDA's work on the flavor guidance issue was, quote, a very, very high priority, and we're trying to complete work on it as quickly as possible, right?
I don't remember the date, but yes, I said that.
Yes, you said that on October 25th to the Hill. But the guidance, this flavor guidance, has not yet been published yet, has it?
No.
According to a letter sent to me yesterday by FDA and OIRA, FDA drafted guidance and sent it to OIRA, an office within the OMB, as we talked about before, on October 25th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, FDA's guidance document followed through on Secretary Azar's September 11th announcement that the FDA would clear the market of all non-tobacco flavors, right?
I'm not going to get into the substance of the document that was submitted.
Okay, and on what basis are you not getting into the substance?
Because there has been no final decision made on this policy, because there are ongoing discussions that are taking place, I'm not going to be able to get into the substance of what was in that document.
And who instructed you not to get into the substance of it?
This was based upon discussions internally at the agency, and it's standard practice when there's ongoing policy making, then that we don't talk publicly about what is under consideration. Be happy, as I said in my remarks, I'd be happy to come back and brief you and your staff when there is a final decision and walk you through everything, but this remains an open, ongoing set of discussions.
So according to FDA's letter sent to me yesterday, the FDA OIRA letter sent to me yesterday, OIRA concluded its review on November 4th, right?
Correct.
Now, did OIRA make any changes to the initial guidance submitted by the FDA?
Again, I can't go into the details of what remains ongoing discussions.
Now, you're familiar with something called Executive Order 12866, right?
Yes, sir.
According to this catchy phrase, EO 12866, the FDA is not allowed to publish in the Federal Register until OIRA has essentially completed its review, right?
For things that are subject to the executive order.
Correct, and this is one of them.
This was a policy that, because of its significance, we sent to OMB for review, yes.
And basically EO 12866 would apply. It basically talks about the types of policies that would be submitted to OIRA and then sent back to FDA, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, OIRA has marked the review, quote-unquote, completed on its website. That means, Mr. Zeller, the policy is now back with the FDA, right?
They completed their review on November 4th and sent the document back to us, but there were still other ongoing policy-related discussions going on in parallel. But OIRA did complete its review, as you stated, and sent it back to us on November 4th.
When you say there are policy discussions ongoing, between who and who?
There were parallel policy discussions going on between FDA and the Department and the White House.
So, according to Executive Order 12866, the FDA is not allowed to publish in the Federal Register until OIRA has completed its review, now that OIRA has completed its review, the FDA can publish the guidance, right?
If the complete executive branch review of the policy was done, but there were still, as I said, in parallel, other ongoing policy-related discussions going on, in addition to the OIRA review of the guidance document that we
So
had
these
sent.
parallel discussions, this sounds like some kind of irregular channel of discussions independent of the standard submission of the guidance from FDA to OIRA and back from OIRA to FDA. Is there some other review that is happening right now that has nothing to do with OIRA or FDA?
There are ongoing policy-related discussions between the agency, the department, and the White House about what the policy should be.
Okay, so did OIRA really complete its review? If they are still discussing with you this document?
OIRA completed its review, but at other levels within the department and the White House and the agency, and again, in parallel, there were discussions continuing about what the policy should be, even though OIRA had completed its review.
And who's part of those discussions at the FDA?
That would be the leadership of the agency, the leadership of the department, and various parts of the White House.
And that leadership includes you?
I've been involved, I would say, peripherally in those discussions. It's mostly been the leadership of the agency.
And at the White House, who has the leadership involved?
I think it's various offices, from the Domestic Policy Council to the Office of Management and Budget and others. I have not been directly involved in discussions with the White House.
So you would agree with me, sir, and the White House Domestic Policy Council is headed by Joe Grogan, is that right?
Correct.
You would agree with me that the FDA should be regulating tobacco products, don't you?
That's our job, yes.
It's not a waste of time, right?
It's one of the most important public health things that a regulatory agency can do. It's something that I've devoted the last 25 years of my life to.
That's why I am so concerned by your prior answer that the White House Domestic Council, headed by Joe Grogan, is part of these discussions when Mr. Grogan said it was, quote, a huge waste of time, close quote, for FDA to regulate tobacco. I'm going to recognize others for questioning.